Some stories begin with power, some with money. But this one began with a diner. Welcome back to the channel, where we bring you powerful real-life inspired stories that remind us of love, sacrifice, and second chances. Today's story is about a billionaire who thought his money could solve every problem, until a simple waitress held his disabled son, and everything changed. What happened next will touch your heart in ways you never expected. Before we begin, don't forget to hit the like button, drop your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe so you never miss another story. Now, let's get into it. The morning rush was steady, plates clattered, conversations hummed, coffee poured without pause. Among the chaos stood her, a young waitress named Clara Hayes, moving with a rhythm carved out of survival. Clara didn't know her life was about to shift forever. She didn't know that at table 7, a man who carried the world's wealth on his shoulders, and the world's grief in his heart, was watching her closely. Ethan Marshall, billionaire industrialist, wasn't a man used to being ignored. But today, his fortune meant nothing. What mattered was the little boy seated beside him, a boy in a wheelchair with soft eyes that never quite met anyone else's. Ethan's son, Michael, lived in silence. His disability had made him fragile, sheltered, and untouchable to most. But not to Clara. She leaned down with no hesitation, adjusted Michael's napkin, and whispered words that made him smile, really smile, for the first time in months. And Ethan saw it. That single moment, that single kindness, would set in motion a chain of events neither of them could have predicted. Because sometimes, fate doesn't ask permission. It just puts the right people in the wrong places, at the right time. So what happened next? Stay with me. Because this story is about love that heals, wealth that humbles, and one waitress who held a billionaire's son, only to change not just his life, but her own. Clara Hayes was 26, though life had aged her faster. Raised by a single mother who worked 2 jobs, Clara learned early how to smile through exhaustion. She had dreams once: college, design school, maybe even her own boutique. But when her mother fell sick, those dreams folded into diner shifts and medical bills. Still, Clara wasn't bitter. She poured coffee with grace, remembered every regular story, and carried trays like a dancer balancing on air. People came to the diner for food, but stayed for her warmth. Ethan Marshall, on the other hand, was a man people feared to disappoint. 42, polished suits, private jets, headlines that painted him as untouchable. But the newspapers never told the full story. Behind closed doors, Ethan lived quietly, carrying the weight of his wife's death. 3 years ago, she had been the glue holding his fractured world together. Her passing left not just him shattered, but their only son, Michael. Michael, 9 years old, had been born with cerebral palsy. His mother's touch had been his bridge to the world. Without her, he withdrew further into silence. Therapists tried. Tutors tried. Ethan tried. Nothing broke through. Until Clara. It was the smallest gesture, a waitress kneeling to meet his eyes, offering him a straw and joking softly about how superheroes always drink with style. Michael giggled. Ethan froze. It was the sound of hope. That morning could have ended like any other. A tip left on the table. A stranger forgotten. But Ethan couldn't shake what he had seen. The way Clara didn't flinch from Michael's awkward movements. The way she spoke to him not as a child in a wheelchair, but as a boy who mattered. As Ethan settled the bill, Michael reached out, tiny fingers brushing against Clara's wrist. "Thank you," he whispered. Ethan nearly dropped his wallet. His son hadn't spoken in weeks. Clara's eyes softened. "Any time, buddy. You're welcome here." Something in Ethan shifted. That night, instead of returning to his skyscraper office, He found himself replaying the scene again and again. A waitress, a smile, a single word from his son. The next day, he returned. And the day after. At first, Clara assumed he was just another wealthy customer, generous with tips. But Ethan wasn't there for the coffee. He was there for the way Michael laughed when she drew little smiley faces on napkins. He was there for the way his son's eyes followed her every move. And soon, he was there for her. But not everyone saw what Ethan saw. Other waitresses whispered, "She's lucky." Imagine catching the eye of a billionaire. Regulars raised eyebrows. Men like him don't notice women like her unless they want something. And Clara. She heard it all. She wasn't naive. A man like Ethan lived in a world galaxies away from hers. She had no place in it. So she tried to keep distance. Professional smiles. Polite nods. Nothing more. But Michael made that impossible. "Will she come with us, Dad?" he asked one evening after Ethan suggested a weekend trip. "She works here, son," Ethan replied carefully. "Then, we should eat here every day." Clara's heart ached. She had never been anyone's safe place before. And now, this boy wanted her to stay in his orbit. Ethan noticed too. But instead of joy, it brought fear. He couldn't trust easily, not after years of false friends, greedy associates, and women who only saw his bank account. What if Clara was the same? What if her kindness was just another mask? So he tested her. Small ways at first. Invitations declined. Offers brushed off. He watched closely, waiting for the slip. But Clara never slipped. She never asked for favors, never hinted at money. In fact, when Ethan once left $1,000 tip, she chased him to the parking lot and tried to return it. "I can't take this," she said firmly. Ethan stared. No one had ever handed his money back before. And yet, the divide remained. She was a waitress with overdue rent. He was a billionaire with private islands. No bridge could span that gap. Or so he thought. It happened on a rainy Thursday. The diner was nearly empty when Michael had a sudden spasm. His breathing hitched, his body stiffened. Clara dropped her tray and rushed over without hesitation. She held him close, whispering gently, rocking him until the episode passed. Ethan froze, watching. Nurses had done the same thing clinically, coldly. But Clara, she cradled Michael like he was her own. Her eyes brimmed with tears, but her voice never broke. When it was over, Michael leaned against her shoulder, whispering, "Don't let go." Clara kissed the top of his head. "Never." Ethan felt his walls crumble. In that moment he knew, this woman wasn't after wealth. She was after connection. And she had given his son something priceless, comfort. But fate wasn't done testing them. 2 weeks later, Ethan hosted a charity gala. Reluctantly, Clara agreed to attend, only because Michael begged her to come. The ballroom glittered with diamonds and designer gowns. Clara, in a borrowed dress, felt like a shadow among stars. Whispers followed her. "Who is she?" "The waitress." "He's lost his mind." Michael clung to her hand, sensing her unease. But the night turned cruel when a socialite, bitter from rejection, sneered aloud. Of course. The billionaire's newest project, a charity case in heels. The room chuckled. Clara's cheeks burned. She wanted to run. But before she could, Michael tugged her close and shouted with all the strength he had, "She's my friend. Leave her alone." The room fell silent. It was the first time many had heard him speak. Ethan's chest tightened, pride and fury mixing. He wrapped an arm around his son, another around Clara. "She's not a project," Ethan said coldly, his voice echoing. "She's the reason my boy found his voice again. And that makes her more valuable than every fortune in this room." Gasps filled the air. Cameras flashed. Clara's life changed forever that night. The days that followed weren't easy. The media swarmed. Headlines screamed, "Billionaire falls for Waitress." But through the chaos, Ethan stood firm. He offered Clara the world, but she asked for nothing. Instead, she kept showing up at the diner, apron tied, coffee pot in hand. Until one morning, Michael rolled in with Ethan and proudly announced, "She doesn't belong here anymore. She belongs with us." Ethan smiled. And for once, Clara didn't argue. Months later, their lives intertwined seamlessly. Clara didn't just change Ethan's son's life. She changed Ethan's heart. She reminded him that not all love could be bought. Some love was earned, piece by piece, kindness by kindness. And in return, Ethan gave Clara what she had never dared to dream of. Not wealth, not luxury, but family. So what do we learn from this story? That wealth may open doors, but love opens hearts. That kindness, small, genuine, uncalculated, can bridge even the widest divides. Clara Hayes never set out to change a billionaire's life. She only wanted to do her job, to care for a little boy others overlooked. But in doing so, she rewrote her destiny. Because when compassion meets opportunity, miracles happen. And sometimes, the richest man in the room isn't the one with the biggest bank account. It's the one who learns how to hold on to the people who matter most. So, tell me, what would you have done in Clara's shoes? Would you have risked everything to stand by a boy who needed you, even when the world whispered against you? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more powerful stories, and share it with someone who still believes that love can change lives. Because as Ethan, Clara, and Michael remind us, it truly can.